Well, after the warmth of May, for many, not everybody, we certainly are seeing quite a shock to the system with regards to the current air mass affecting the UK and Ireland, especially further north. Thanks for clicking on to the Wednesday edition of Vogan's European Outlook. Hope you're all safe and well wherever you are, and bundling up, especially if you're in exposure of that northwest wind. Temperatures early afternoon, unofficial stations only reporting 2 or 3 Celsius, which is pretty impressive chill for early June standards. But I want to show a little bit of perspective before we get into the meat and bones of today's video. I want to look at what took place on the 2nd of June back in 2015. This was a capture that I took of Ben Nevis, a fresh covering of snow. These photographs are a little bit small, I do apologise for that, but the Nevis Range seeing a pretty significant fresh blanket of snow on the 2nd of June back in 2015. Just a couple of years ago, we had a temperature just after the solstice, so the 22nd of June, of minus 2.4 Celsius at Altnahara, with quite a widespread frost across the north. We've had days where it's not reached 10 Celsius in the past in June in years gone by. So, as much as this is a fairly impressive spell of cold weather for early June, it has happened before, and we have seen plenty of episodes in the past where we've seen a fresh covering of snow. But that's Anak Moore. This is Carnmore Jerrig and Ben Nevis, all seeing probably several inches, if not upwards of a half a foot of snow, fresh snow over the tops. Now, bear in mind, this is over 4,000 feet above sea level, so you're obviously quite high up. But nonetheless, I do remember I was delivering to the farm food store that particular period of time, and the old gentleman that I was dealing with had lived in the Fort William area for decades, and he said that that is about the most significant early June snow he had ever seen at that location. So I thought that was interesting to kind of add in today. This is the view from the top of Cairngorm, or not that far off the top of the Cairngorm. You can see here a fresh dusting of snow at the time of recording this is, by the way, so this is a live webcam view of the slopes of Cairngorm summit at the moment. And the snow cover is kind of waxing away and it's kind of coming and going. When you've got the incoming sun radiating off the ground, the snow disappears. Then you've got the showers that rattle through on that brisk west-northwest wind, lay down a fresh little blanket of snow, and then it disappears in no time. So we've certainly got a fairly cold polar maritime air mass in place at the moment. 850 temperatures hovering at or just below freezing. By the way, Cairngorm Summit itself, the weather station is recording temperature of around -1, -10 with wind chill, and a fairly robust 40+ mile per hour wind. So, winter-like conditions over the tops of the Cairngorms and Highlands at the moment. And you can see here, this is the current visible satellite image showing the speckled clouds as that polar maritime air drags cold off Greenland, off Iceland, and down over the UK. And what we're doing is we're seeing the incoming solar radiation react with that sub-zero 850 temperature, and it's creating a significant deal of instability. So there's those showers rattling through, as you can see here on the radar loop of Weather Online. So very, very heavy showers rattling through. They are containing thunder, lightning, and small hail as well. They rattle through, the sun comes back out, and we're seeing the temperature bouncing quite significantly at the moment here at the Marvel Weather HQ. You can see here that the temperature is at 10.9 Celsius at the moment. Now the sun is just gone, but it was sunny a second ago, allowing the temperature to rise close to 11 Celsius. When the showers rattle through, temperatures dropping to around 8 Celsius, so we're seeing that quite significant fluctuation in temperature at this time of the year. And I was trying to actually pull up the current lightning activity over the northwest at the moment, because we are seeing that, but unfortunately I can't bring that up. So I'll have to leave it at that, I'm afraid. But this is the 2-day temperature anomaly across Europe. Very, very warm conditions across parts of the continent. Spain and Portugal, we're seeing temperatures into the 30s here. We've seen widespread low, mid, even some high 20s across parts of Scandinavia. Eastern areas of Europe seeing very warm conditions as well. But we are now starting to see this polar maritime air continuing to progress, not just across the UK and Ireland, but it's penetrating right into the centre of Europe. And this is the current temperatures across the continent. So you can see here that we've got the teens across Central Europe. There's that warmth down across Spain and Portugal here, where we've got the pretty much mid 30s, low to mid 30s, quite widely across central and southern Spain at the moment here. We're even seeing temperatures knocking the door of 30. In fact, we do have a 30 in southern France. Big contrast in temperature across France, by the way. Only 14 Celsius in the north coast, 30 Celsius in the south. And the reason for that is because we have got quite a dramatic contrast in 850 temperatures. Let's actually look at that right now. So this is, let me see here what we can get. So that prime example. So we've got the 850 temperatures or 5,000 foot level temperatures at 0 or slightly below, and we have got the temperatures even across northern France, where it's actually going to be tomorrow, where we could actually have the 0 Celsius isotherm at 5,000 feet over the far north of France, where we've actually got the 850s of 20 Celsius across the far south. So quite a contrast, a 20 Celsius difference between north and south over France, and that is reflecting in the surface temperatures, or the 2 meter temperatures, should I say here. But certainly warm air across Iberia, cold polar maritime or Arctic air over the UK, and we're seeing this constant feed of northwesterly winds. So we've got the summer-like conditions across Spain and Portugal, actually kind of late winter conditions across the north of the UK. So heavy shower at the moment as I'm speaking. Let's have a look at the temperature. It's still showing 10.4, but I would expect to see that temperature to come down quite a wee bit here. We've got a 42 km/h wind gust at the moment, so we're seeing rail field temperatures actually dropping into mid-single figures as those showers rattle through. So let me see here what else we've got to speak about here. In terms of wintry precipitation across the tops of the mountains, it's according to the Met Office, it's actually every 3 to 5 years we have got snow over the tops of the mountains in the month of June. So, like I say, and then I think it's 1975 it was, where we had the cricket matches quite widely across Midland England called off due to snow. So we have got a history of snow here in the UK during the month of June. In fact, this is actually quite an interesting tweet here by Sean Batty, giving a little bit of June cold perspective, and I thought I would show you this here. So this is a tweet here that he put out yesterday afternoon. So this is specifically for Scotland, but while it'll be a cold night for June, and we do have the chance of seeing frost over the next few nights, by the way, and continuation of temperatures struggling to get to 10 Celsius in the far north, 16, 17 across the far south. So obviously the south is just slightly below the average for the time of the year. Further north, we're talking about 5 to 7 Celsius below average. So anyway, he goes on to say that Altnahara hit -5 back in 1998. This is obviously June nights, -5 back in 1998. Balmoral -3 in 64. Estelmuir -3 in 62. Lerwick -1 in 1951. Stornoway -1 all the way back in 1888. And he says that very few places have had a minus in the month of July. Incidentally, he didn't add was the fact that just a couple of Junes ago we did see a -2.4 at Altnahara, and my truck dashboard was reading -2, and this was the night after the solstice, so the longest day of the year. So it just shows you actually even in late June, and that was actually incidentally the coldest June temperature for the UK since back in 2012. So yeah, always like statistics and looking back at history to see roughly some perspective and what's happened in times gone by. So there you go. The temperature's dropped now to 9.2 here at Vogan Weather HQ, thanks to the presence of increased gusts and showers rattling through on that stiff northwesterly wind. So let's go and see what the overview chart is showing. Have we got any summer-like warmth on the way? That is the question. And unfortunately, as we play through this loop, so there's that lobe of Arctic air getting discharged out of Greenland, out of the Arctic, south over the UK. You can see here that we don't have these reds and orangey colours lifting north anytime soon. This is off the ECMWF, by the way. You can see that area of low pressure kind of anchored just to the north of the UK mainland. That is continuing to feed that cold polar maritime air south. It is kind of weakening as it descends over the UK and Ireland here, but you notice here the real warmth down across the western mid basin is never really getting far enough north here, so it's continuously feeling the resistance of that northerly wind. So this is all the way out to the end of the upcoming weekend, by the way. And you notice here that we're actually starting to see some of this cooler air starting to get forced a little bit further south and southwest into the areas that are currently quite warm. So you notice here that as we progress, even through the course of next week, area of high pressure tries to exert some influence off the Atlantic in towards the UK here, but it's not really doing anything. If anything, we weaken the chill in the mid and upper levels of the atmosphere, but according to the ECMWF, we don't have anything significantly mild or warm coming north, even as we push towards the middle portions of this month. So this is Saturday of next weekend, so not the upcoming weekend, but next weekend. You notice here that we still don't have anything particularly warm to speak about. We're going to continue to see these showers rattling in on a northwesterly wind. We do have a couple of features as well, by the way, that are going to enhance the shower and possibly longer spells of rain as well here. So this is the current situation. Plenty of blustery showers coming down, fed by that low to the north, high to the west here. As we continue to play through this loop, continue to see these showers merging to create longer spells of enhanced convection here. This is by the time we reach early Friday morning. There's a little feature, a little frontal system moving southwards here that is going to enhance the showers, but also just going to reinforce the chill that we've already got in place at the moment here. And you notice that even as we move towards Sunday, instead of high pressure seen by the models in recent times trying to move in from the west, we've now got a situation with the high still remaining to the west out over the Atlantic. Low now positioned over southern Scandinavia, and there you go, northerly winds feeding down that chill. So we've got no warm air to speak about anytime soon, I'm afraid, folks. And then even as we move into early next week, the high does eventually try to start building in, but we've got that area of low pressure continuing to ride that northerly flow down over the UK, and it means that we're just reinforcing the pattern that essentially we've already got. We just kind of weaken that north wind, we weaken the potency of that polar air, and temperatures may start to creep up mid to late weekend and then into next week here. But I'm not overly optimistic about any real warmth anytime soon. So let's get to the temperature anomalies week by week here. So this is off the CFSV2, week 1, firmly below average. So this takes us out to the 12th of June. Even week 2, still below average. This takes us out to the 19th. And then as we go towards the period 19th through the 26th, it looks as if we're going to see a little bit of a recovery in temperatures. Remember what the June outlook says, and you can see that there is a link in the description below. Average to below average temperatures, average to below average precipitation here, and that looks to be the case. Then as we move towards the end of the month, it looks as if the models are sniffing out something warmer. What does the GFS ensemble say? Upcoming 5 days, it looks firmly below average. The 6 to 10, it's still below average here. You notice some of that cooler air now filtering further east and south over the UK. This is the period between the 10th and the 15th. The 11 to 15, we see a little bit of a recovery back to average, possibly slightly above average. This is the period between the 15th and the 20th, according to the GFS ensemble. What is the reason for this recovery? It looks as if higher pressure is going to try and exert more influence and pull something a little bit warmer into the UK during the second half of the month, but I'm not overly enthusiastic about that recovery. So let's have a very quick look at the 500 millibar pattern here and see how this is evolving. You can see here firm trough in place. As we play through this loop, watch what happens. We've got that area of troughiness kind of weakens in place. Then you've got the high to the west. It tries to kind of build its way in and settle things down a little bit, but you've got this kind of void in between over the heart of the majority of Europe here, representing neutral heights here. So you've neither got positive heights or negative heights compared to average. It's shown neutral. So yeah, we could go well into the month of June on a fairly chilly note, and that will be an interesting first month of meteorological summer for sure. So hit that like button, share with your friends and family, and subscribe to the channel. I would greatly appreciate that. And we'll look at more in tomorrow's video, so stay tuned. And I hope you can stick around for that as well. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. Bye for now.